Hello students, I welcome you to the last session of November month. Now the last session, as we always do, we will start with our science and technology, then art and culture, and the final we end with the defense. Okay, so let's start with the science and tech. So the first one is over the top platform models. So what are these OTT platform models? Many of you may have subscribed to it. For example, Netflix, Hotstar, Amazon Prime. Also, over the top platform, the WhatsApp calling feature is also considered in that. Last year, they were in news when because many of the people now use, instead of the calling, before this Geo revolution, WhatsApp calling feature has come. So many people not used to call from Airtel to Geo or something, not use the internet service providers service, but rather use the WhatsApp call. Now the WhatsApp call is based upon the internet, right? This internet is provided by these ISPs like Airtel, Voda Idea. Okay, so this internet is provided by them, over which these services are based. How you see Netflix videos? You see over the internet, right? So that last year they were contention last year there were issue in the news because of these internet service provider told that these OTTs should pay us as well because they are using our internet. Now this time the question is over the regulation of these OTTs, especially these Netflix, Hotstar and Amazon Prime. What is the criteria for censorship? Okay, how the regulation over them will be there. For example, for the movies we have regulation, but what about this anything coming on the Netflix? With many of the famous series, the Sacred Games and all, they've come into the contention. People started, many of the political parties have, many political leaders have questioned the content, right? So that is why its regulation was in the news. So just see quickly. So they deliver audio, video and other media content via internet, uh, issuing the need for the traditional platforms like cable broadcast. Now these things are getting outdated, relatively outdated, especially for the younger generation. Now, for example, I have only Netflix and Amazon Prime connection, though I don't need TV, I don't need this cable connection, Tata Sky and all. I am happy with my this form of media. So they are known as online curated content providers. The popular OTT platform already done. The mode of transmission is usually over the traverse over the internet. Okay, this makes the existing broadcasting laws inapplicable to this OTT service. So currently the regulation over this OTT service is a bit hazy. So from the diagram itself, over the internet, voice, text, video conferencing, presence, all these things are there. Nick, related to that information, code of best practices by online curated content provider. So basically they are coming, this Internet and Mobile Association of India, they have drafted a code of self-regulation for video streaming and OTT platform. As we said, the regulation over these is a bit hazy. So this Internet and Mobile Association of India has drafted a code of self-regulation. So there should be self-accountability and responsibility over these institutions to regulate themselves. Take care of the content they are providing. Do not breach the constitutional boundaries of the country. Okay. Next is very important current affair, Pegasus. Too much in news. So WhatsApp Pegasus software. Why we need to worry about the stockware on your phone? So basically, what is Pegasus? So it's a spyware. Spyware means, from the name itself, it is a spyware. So that will spy on you. So it enters your phone through a WhatsApp call, even if call is not answered. Allegation over the breach of privacy of several Indian WhatsApp users using the Israeli surveillance software Pegasus. So basically, Pegasus was developed by an Israeli company, and it is said that this software is used for the for this spying and the breach of privacy. This sends the target contacts, calls, messages to its controller. So whatever you are chatting on WhatsApp and all can go to the someone else. That's a huge breach of privacy. It can also work as a spy device by switching on the camera or the microphone. For example, they have got into your phone, now they can switch on this microphone. So whatever you are saying, whatever where you are going, everything can be there, right? So cyber security topic is, this is a majorly cyber security topic. So what is exactly is Pegasus? All the spywares, as the name suggests, it's a spy on the phone through which their phone, it's a spy on people through their phone, right? it sends a it sends a link just like a normal link. If you click on that link, you become vulnerable to it. Okay. So once it is installed, the attacker has complete access to one's phone. The first report came of this software in 2016 when Ahmed Mansoor, a human rights activist in UAE, was targeted with SMS link on his iPhone. So 2016 it was in news. So one more concept I want to explain you, that zero-day exploits. So basically, what is zero-day exploits? For example, every company, being WhatsApp, Facebook, Google, they take care that they take care within their software so that they build inbuild protection to these malwares, the spyware. But what is the zero-day exploit? It is completely unknown vulnerability. Why? About which even the software manufacturer is not aware. Getting my point? For example, software manufacturer has produced the software. Now he knows these are the areas where the targeting of these malware and spyware can target me, can target this software. So he will provide protection towards that. But if the software manufacturer does not know where the vulnerability is, then so those exploits are called zero-day exploits. They are completely unknown vulnerability about which the software manufacturer is not aware, and there is thus no patch or fix available for it. In the specific case of Apple and WhatsApp, neither company was aware of the security vulnerability. Even this big company was not aware about this security vulnerability. They were also caught up in this zero-day exploit. So in the exam itself can ask zero-day exploits. So what do you mean by that? And they will give you very competing options which were used to exploit the software and take over the device. Fine. So Pegasus we know, related to one fact we also know. Next is High Energy Material Research Laboratory. So this laboratory is basically, it's not a new laboratory. It's been there in with DRDO. Recently a center was opened in the Pune. So it's a state-of-art facility for design, processing and evaluation of the ignition system. The facility consists of the process, assembly and storage building and the design center. It has designed the ignition system for the big missiles like Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Pinaka and all this. So premier DRDO this lab in the Pune. So the new lab is being set up by DRDO. Okay. Next, an important one, X57 Maxwell. X57 Maxwell. So what it is? The question will be like, they will give quote unquote, this is in the news. Why? Option A, option B, option C, option D. So NASA unveils first electric plane X57 Maxwell powered by 14 motors. Okay. So NASA unveiled this plane powered by 14 motors. So remember, it's an electrical plane, and that is why it is in news. UPSC has asked this question once. I've not kept it in your PPTs, but in 2016-17 they've asked one question specific to one of the plane which has completed his solar round all around the world. Okay, I'll get back to in the next month's science and tech. I'll tell you what exactly was the question, why this these kinds of current affair also becomes relevant for UPSC. Next, the Cartosat satellite series in the space technology. So Cartosat are basically the Earth observation satellites, usually used mainly for the large scale mapping of the Earth through high resolution cameras. So through high resolution cameras, they do this mapping. Okay, they help to detect the changes in the natural, geographical or man-made features. So they use the technology of remote sensing. So now why is in news? Because Cartosat 3 has been launched. Here is this Cartosat 3 in space. So how we can exploit its potential? That was the news. So what is Cartosat 3? It's a third generation agile advanced satellite having high resolution imaging capability. Application Cartosat 3 will address the increased users demand for large scale urban planning, rural resource and infrastructure development, coastal land use and land cover. So that will be Cartosat. So Earth observation satellite. Okay, it will be, again just to reiterate, used for urban planning because it has more resolution. So urban planning, rural resource, infrastructure and all this. Just remember that Cartosat series is associated with the Earth observation satellite, not communication satellite. There you can get confused. So Cartosat is launched in 2005. First was launched 2005, then second was launched in 2007. Okay, it is the first Indian remote sensing satellite capable of providing in-orbit stereo images. Cartosat 2 was with increased imaging resolution. Okay, along with this 6 more have been launched, but they are more of a military reconnaissance, right, for military purposes. The other Cartosat, so for us important Cartosat 1, Cartosat 2 and Cartosat 3. Okay, so it is mounted on the PSLV XL. We'll see that we somewhere down the line we'll see difference between PSLV, GSLV and all, because that's also relevant for science and tech, not in the current affair itself, but too many times it has been the current affair, so we will try to cover that. Destination orbit is sun synchronous orbit. In fact, in the next month I'll cover these all the orbits: sun synchronous, polar orbits, this that's uh, sun earth observation, earth is geostationary and geosynchronous orbit. I'll cover all those orbits because that's a good static content that you need to know. Okay, so launched from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. Next is CTB. So what is this? A new diagnostic tool for detecting the tuberculosis. We have discussed many of the initiatives for tuberculosis, and TB becomes really important because Mr. Modi has taken on Prime Minister taken a pledge to remove TB by 2025. In the budget itself, so many provision with respect to TB. TB harega, desh jeetega. Many things have been given in the budget itself. Okay, so it has a high sensitivity than the gene expert test, which was earlier done for the TB. So CTB, new diagnostic tool for detecting the tuberculosis. Okay. Next is avian botulism. Avian botulism. So what is this? So basically it's a disease. So report by IVRI, Indian Veterinary Institute of India, Veterinary Research Institute of India, situated in Bareilly. Remember that in the UP State PCS, this question has been asked. It states that the climatic conditions were ultimately responsible for the which have triggered the mass die off. Okay, the climatic conditions. So what is basically, so it's an illness caused by the toxin which is produced by a bacterial strain. It is a reason for the mass mortality of the birds. So many birds are dying, including the migratory species from North Asia at the Sambhar Lake in Rajasthan. So where? In at the Sambhar Lake. Okay, so caused by a bacterium, Clostridium botulinum. So not need to remember. What do you need to remember? Bacteria, Sambar Lake, and um, that's it. Bacteria, Sambar Lake, and where it is attacking. So it attacks the nervous system of the birds, because it has been in news more than 18,000 birds have been killed. So that becomes really relevant. For example, UPSC has 1 year asked diclofenac, because on that time the issue was because of diclofenac many vultures were dying. So it question featured in UPSC. This question can also come in the UPSC. So it affects the nervous system of the birds, leading to the paralysis in their legs and wings, neck touching the ground, and they ultimately die. So how they basically how it happens? So for example, in this decaying carcass, this virus is there. That it dies. So from this, the maggot, they get out of it. The maggot concentrate toxins, and this maggot is taken by this other bird, other bird, and the other bird also dies, and the whole cycle continues. So major die off occurs like that. So that from that carcass, someone else eat, some other birds eat, and the vicious cycle continues. Next disease, very famous disease. In fact, every year it is in the news. That is Kaisanor forest disease, KFD. It is also known as the monkey fever. So, monkey fever. It's a viral disease belong to the Flaviviridae family, who's the member of the responsible for causing yellow fever, Zika, and dengue. So, you need to remember that these four have the same family. That is yellow fever, Zika, dengue, and monkey fever. Okay, so but it is important that it is not in the northern area but only in the south area, so Karnataka region. Okay, and it is endemic to the region. Transmission through ticks, in short, tick-borne zoonotic disease, that is from animal to the human. Okay, so from animal to human transfer is there, and that is all you need to remember. Next, multiple species of tick of the genus are being the principal vector. So there is no cure of it. The doctors treat only the symptoms of it. So when you get infected, then those can be treated, but there is no cure for it. So from itself, so from this tick, its whole life cycle. One second. his whole life cycle, it goes to the animal, and from animal it can go to the human, right, and to the animals, other animals. You can see, so it is a distribution map majorly in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. This disease has, every year this has been used. So is human to human contact possible? Answer is no, because no human to human transmission has been reported so far. As I told you, it is a zoonotic disease, so it from animal to the human it is possible. Next, next is this cytochrome B65, B6F. It's a bit technical topic. Just remember one thing: it's an enzyme. It's an enzyme. It's a protein complex that significantly influences the plant growth by means of photosynthesis. Okay, it's a key component of photosynthesis. It's a protein complex that significantly influences the plant growth by means of photosynthesis. Significance: with this understanding and further research, the larger plant that yield more food can be developed. So it's a naturally being found in that, and scientists are looking to exploit its potential, so to increase the yield. So just remember the cytochrome 6 B6F is inside the plant. It's an enzyme that is a component of the photosynthesis. That's a page, that's the photo taken right from the Wikipedia itself. So that shows the structure, very complex one. Okay, so now we have seen the science and tech. Now we will start with our art and culture topics. Okay, first topic we're going to see in art and culture are the travelers in decoding the Indian history. Now, while giving the Ayodhya judgment, we have not taken Ayodhya judgment per se, because Ayodhya judgment itself is not important for a prelims, that is more for a curiosity. But we have taken the important stuff that can come in the Ayodhya judgment itself, what has been in the news. So in the Ayodhya judgment, the Chief Justice or the justices have quoted in their judgment about the 3 travelers who have talked about Ayodhya. Okay, so that becomes important, and the traveler itself has been one of the favorite topics of UPSC. They have asked some from easy to the tricky travelers. Okay, so Joseph Stephen Thur, I'm not sure, as I give you disclaimer, I do not know how to pronounce it, but let's try. So Joseph, because many of these words are silent in their silent in English. So Joseph Tai, and it's an Italian name, so I'm not sure. So Joseph Stephen Thurler. So he was a 18th century missionary from Italy. He traveled to India for 27 years. He was commissioned at the famous observatory by Savai Jai Singh, the Raja of Jaipur. He also lived in Awadh, where the Ayodhya is located, for 5 years. So he was in the Awadh for 5 years. His work description, some work is there, no need to import, no importance of the name of his work. Don't go too much what is not required. So he gives the detail about the travel to Ayodhya. So what do you need to remember? His name, in which who he was, belonged to which country, and he has talked about Ayodhya. That's all you need to know, right? Next, William Finch. So he came along with the Sir William Hawkins, famously, because that's all documented in your history books. So earliest English language account of the Kashmir, as well as the trade route connecting Punjab and eastern Turkestan and western China. So he has talked about it. Okay, Mr. William Finch. Finch visited Ayodhya between 1608 to 1611 and did not find any building of importance of the Islamic origin. Okay. Next, Robert Montgomery Martin. So he is an Anglo, you can see from here, Anglo-Irish author and a civil servant. He served as a colonial treasurer of the Hong Kong. Not too much important, but important. He has written about the worship of Lord Ram in Ayodhya region and destruction of the temples and the erection of the mosque. So their travelogues have been a source of the information for. So that's what justice have quoted. Next is Kodavas community. So gun rights of Kodava community extended till 2029. So petition in the Kerala High Court has challenged the various privilege enjoyed by this community for forever. So that's why they are in the news. So where this community is, they are the martial community of Kurg region in the Karnataka. We'll see. So they celebrate some festivals like Kelpud festival. So they worship weapons in that. And this Puttari to celebrate the first harvest of the paddy crop. Not important. This one is important. Kelpud festival. So You can see this Kadava clan, happy, Kelpud, so they worship the guns. Interesting, isn't it? So about the Kurk society itself, so outstanding contribution have been seen to the country's defense sector, and hence schools has been said that the land of the generals. So many of the generals have been from the Kurg region. So high status given to the women, like no child marriage, dowry is prohibited, forbidden, and widow remarriage is prevalent. Widow remarriage is prevalent. So that goes to show a more progressive side of this community. The location I was telling you, Kodagu. Okay. Next is Dhyan Buddha statue. So the statue is in Amravati. It's not a historical statue. Let me tell you, it was commissioned in around 2005 or something. So not important from historical perspective. Just because that we have done in our government scheme that that startup infrastructure has been cancelled by this new chief minister, and that is why it was also in the news. So it's in Amravati, but it's beautiful, isn't it? So this is Amravati's location, also there at the border with the Telangana. So this is the statue, and there is a museum also downstairs. Very beautiful image. Next is Thiruvalluvar, sorry. So he's a Tamil poet and saint. He lived between 3rd century and do not know exactly when he lived, but he is said to be the philosopher, Tamil philosopher, very famous Tamil philosopher. He is thought to be linked to Jainism. However, Hinduism also, some people link him to Hinduism also, because controversy happened when someone put red saffron paint on one of his idol. His major work is important, Thirukkural, Thirukkurl. So I'm really sorry for the pronunciation. So Kural is the name. So Thirukkurul is composed of the 133 sections of the 10 couplet. Each of is divided into 3 books: Aram, Virtue, Porul, Government, and the Kamam, Love. You see, here we are more concerned with our prelims preparation, isn't it? We need to get the things right. If you see this word, you know it is Thiruvallur, and your work is done. That's all we care, right? And that's what we need to focus also. So how Thiruvallur portrait evolved over the times, and that recent that goes to show that how it is linked to Jainism, then Hinduism as well. So this is the Thiruvallur statue asides the Vivekananda statue in the southernmost part of India. You can see here, this is Vivekananda Smarak, Vivekananda statue, and this is Thiruvallur. I've been the privilege of visiting the place last month only. So I've taken a picture. I should have kept I wanted to keep the picture in the PPTs, but leave that aside. So also in the news, because Economic Survey has quoted Thiruvallur many times in the first chapter. For example, you can see right from the start, the chapter 1 of the Economic Survey starts with a quote from the Thirukkural that make money, there is no weapon sharper than to sever the pride of your foes. So basically, this, as we have discussed in our budget classes also, that the focus of this year's Economic Survey is on the wealth creation, the hand of the trust of the government along with the invisible hand of the market. So we need both the hands for a wealth creation and the good governance. Next is Goti Prolu. So what is this? Basically, a finding has been found is this place. So Goti Prolu lies on the right bank of the distributary of the river Swarnamukhi. Not too much important, just need to know from which state it belongs and what has been found. On the basis of the brick size and associated findings, they can be placed anywhere between 2nd and 1st century BC or little later. Okay. So excavation have been found suggests that Andhra's Goti Prolu was a trade center in the early history period. So it's a historical place, okay, which were comparable to the Satavahana's Ishwaku dynasty period, which could be dated back to 1st or 2nd century BC. So a good archaeological find. Next is National Institution of Sowa Rigpa, NISR. So the cabinet has approved the national institution at the Leh, okay, National Institution of Sowa Rigpa. So the question becomes, what is Sowa Rigpa? We'll see that. An autonomous, what is this institution? Will be an autonomous national institution under the Ministry of Ayush, and with the mandate to undertake interdisciplinary education and research program in the Sowa Rigpa in the collaboration with other national and international institutes. Very general information. Coming to Sowa Rigpa, so it originated in the Tibet, particularly practiced in the country, namely India, Nepal, Bhutan, Mongolia, and Russia, Trans-Himalayan region. Okay, so some of the information will be here. Just be with me. I'll highlight. First, Sowa Rigpa is from the Boti language. Just one second. From the Boti language, which means the knowledge of the healing. First fact you need to remember, right? Knowledge of the healing, Sowa Rigpa means. Second, it is being practiced in the countries Bhutan, Mongolia and Russia along with the Trans-Himalayan region that we have seen. So remember Mongolia and Russia as well. Third, Sowa Rigpa is spread as the recognized and promoted a traditional medical system, the government of India, along with the spread of Buddhism, it also is spread. It is also it was started as an ancient Indian medical system. Remember that it's not outside; it's an Indian medical system. So Sowa Rigpa is related too much with the Ayurveda. You can see around 75% of the text has been taken from the treatise of Ayurveda, that is Ashtanga Hridaya, in one or the other form. More than 75% medicine are used in the Ayurveda. So similarly, medicine like Triphala, Ashok, Ashwagandha, Gogul. Next, the principal medical text. This one is important. This principal medical text are GUID BZI. Okay. So the principal textbook, Tantra, Chatushtantra, a textbook, a fundamental principle of Sowa Rigpa was in Sanskrit, and it was later translated into the Boti language in 8th to 12th century. So what is to be remembered? Indian healing system, India hai. Then Russia and Mongolia also there. Then many convergences with the Ayurveda with respect to the texts and with respect to the medicines. And more importantly, it is this main fundamental principle in these major texts, nothing else. The fundamental principles of Sowa Rigpa is based upon this Panch Mahabhut, the Tridosh, Sapta Dhatu. So all these things similar to the Ayurveda. Dietary guidelines and pulse examinations are common in the Sowa Rigpa and Ayurveda. So it has close proximity with these Ayurveda. So remember, it has proximity with Ayurveda, not homeopath. Because if the question comes, they'll ask you a very easy question. This is very detailed information. They will ask you a very, very easy question on it. Next is Third Battle of Panipat. So, Third Battle of Panipat was in 1761, I'm really sorry, 1761. Why in the news? Why I have covered it? Because recently a movie came, Panipat, A Great Betrayal, fought between Maratha forces and invading army of Afghan General Ahmad Shah Abdali of Durrani Empire. Marathas were defeated in the battle. So this movie came, that is why I just kept it in the current affairs. So A Great Betrayal. I've recently seen this movie. Good for the student, they'll get some historical context or something. A work of fiction as well. Some of the works are work of fiction. Otherwise, they've tried to portray it. So first Battle of Panipat, just to, because that's all detail you will do in your static syllabus. But first Battle of Panipat 1926 laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire with the Babur. And the second Battle of Panipat was with the Akbar, was very small. So Bairam Khan fought with the Hemu Vikramaditya. Okay. Next is Mr. Udham Singh, a very revolutionary freedom fighter. So why he was in the news? Because some controversy happened over our MP from Bhopal, Pragya Thakur, made some comments. So the confusion was between the Godse and this Udham Singh. Not too much going into the controversy, but let us see about Sardar Udham Singh. So basically, I have kept the information, important information. He was born in Punjab district. You need to remember specific. So he was associated with the Ghadar party while in US. So that's the first fact that you have to remember. He was born in 1989. That will help you to, for example, if the question comes, he also attended the first session of this Congress. So you need to know that no, he was born 1899, or the question can come, he participated aggressively in the Swadeshi movement. So he would be only 5 years old. How can he participate in the Swadeshi movement? So that on that front, this information can help you. Okay, he was associated with the Ghadar party. Singh made his way to the London with the purpose of assassination of O. Dyer, who in 1919 had been the Lieutenant Governor of the Punjab. Okay, his name in the custody, when he was taken the custody, he used the name Ram Muhammad Singh Azad. He presented three major religion of Punjab and his anti-colonial sentiment. So Ram Muhammad Singh Azad, right? So that goes to show the secular nature of the freedom struggle, isn't it? So more importantly, students get confused between this dire combo. So one dire was the, you see, there are two dires. First was the Reginald Dyer, Reginald Dyer. He was the temporary brigadier general. He was responsible for Jallianwala massacre in Amritsar. He was also called the butcher of the Amritsar. So this person is different. He was not killed by the Udham Singh. Remember, he was not killed by the Udham Singh. This person was not killed by Udham Singh. Okay, he was a temporary brigadier general. He was called the butcher of Amritsar. He ordered the firing. He was not killed by Udham Singh. Next, this person, Michael O'Dyer. So he was the Punjab Lieutenant Governor that Jallianwala Bagh massacre occurred, when the Jallianwala massacre occurred, and he was killed by the, assassinated by the Udham Singh. Remember that? So just remember this fact, because many a time UPSC plays on this thing. Okay, recently UPSC has also played with the name, because these are similar names, and many a time we tend to escape it. Okay. Next is TN Session. Now, not very important for prelim perspective, but I just wanted to put the name because he died in the November month. Okay, he died at the age of 86. Raman Magsaysay Award winner in 1996 for enforcing the moral code of conduct to rein in the muscle and money power election during his tenure as the 10th Chief Election Commissioner. Now, just put in just for the sense of respect, because he has been, if you have prepared for ethics, you know he's been one of the role models for the aspiring civil servants who have put their integrity, their impartiality, their honesty at the core of their work. Right? So that is why I've kept the name, and he's also Raman Magsaysay Award winner. Right? So these are the end of our art and culture discussion. Now we will see the defense part of our last part of our discussion. So the first fact of defense is air propulsion, air independent propulsion submarine. So basically, it's a boost for DRDO's air independent propulsion system as the land-based prototype successfully operated. So basically, what it is, so DRDO, let's see, DRDO tested a land-based prototype of an air independent propulsion submarine at this laboratory somewhere in Maharashtra. Okay, so what is the advantage? From my advantage, you'll get to know how it is working. So what his name is air independent propulsion submarine. So submarine is basically under water. So sometime it has to come out to take the air, so that air it uses the air for its propulsion, right? So air independent, so it does not need air, so its endurance under the sea will increase, something like that. Now you'll see the advantage, then you'll understand. Needs to take in the oxygen only once a week. Second, releases energy by combining hydrogen oxygen, so only water as a waste product. It makes more underwater endurance time will be there. Okay, better performance will be there. Cells are highly efficient and do not have moving parts, thus ensuring low acoustic signature. The overall, the positive things will be there. So submerged endurance, thus having a high multiplier effect on its lethality as well. So it will be more lethal and adding strength to our naval power. Next is permanent commission for women in the army. So women in the armed forces, Supreme Court for retrospective effect of permanent commission. Supreme Court has told the central government to look into the positive side of granting the permanent commission to women officers in the retrospective effect. So give the permanent status to the women there. Now, yeah, if you've been the news from 2014, 15, 16 onwards, many steps have been taken to improve the uh, women intake into the armed forces. The earlier what we say, earlier repulsion, not repulsion, but earlier reluctance to have women in the armed force has been reduced, and the women are now in the granting the permanent commission in the 10 branches of the army, right? So different branches of the army, women are getting into this. Judges, advocate general, army education corps, signal engineer, army aviation, army air defense, electronics, mechanical, army service, and all the 10 branches. So all branches of Indian Air Force, including the fighter plots, are already open for women. However, in Navy, all the applicable and all the non-sea going branches. So then the sea going branches, women are still not there. Apart from that, women are in the all the other branches. Next is Avangard nuclear missile system. So it's in the Russia. Okay, so it's a hypersonic missile, Avangard. Uh, So it's in news because it's, I think, 27 times more speed than the speed of sound. And now US being relatively threatened, is deployed this hypersonic glider to intercept such missile to counter Russian effort to build missiles that can travel up to 27 times the speed of sound. So you remember that Avangard is the nuclear missile system of the Russia. Next is Indian exercises. So Zar el Bhar, roar of the sea. So it's an Indian Navy and Qatar Naval Forces. Remember, defense cooperation against terrorism, maritime piracy, and maritime security. Okay, this year you can expect one question on the military exercises. So between Indian and the Omani and the Qatari naval. Next is this exercise we have already discussed in international affair, SCO-JTEX. The latest edition is being held in India. It's a SCO joint exercise on the urban earthquake research and the rescue. Okay, so hosted by NDRF and participants all the member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So you know all the members of Shanghai Cooperation: Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, India, Pakistan, and China. Remember that Turkmenistan is not there. There are 5 stans, right? So Turkmenistan is not there apart from all other things, and also Afghanistan is also not there. Next is Milan 2020. It's very important. Exercise concluded at the Vishakhapatnam. The 3-day conference was attended by 29 delegates from 17 friendly navies. It's a biennial multilateral naval exercise commenced in 1995 to enhance the interaction among the foreign navies. First time on the Eastern Naval Command. Okay, and it is one of the biggest ever. Okay, so it is the biggest ever exercise in the Indian Ocean region. Milan 2020, 41 navies to come for the biggest exercise. Okay, next is Dastlik. So it's a first ever joint exercise between India and Uzbekistan. Dastlik. The bilateral exercise will be conducted at the training area near the Kirchik training area near the Tashkent. Chirkik. Okay, near the Tashkent, and will be focused on counter-terrorism, in which 2 countries have share the common concern. India Uzbekistan joint military exercise, Dastlik, to begin in the Tashkent today. Okay, counter-terrorism tabletop exercise, CTTTX. So it's between the Quad countries. Quad, you know, 4 countries: India, Japan, Australia, and US. Okay, so hosted by NIA, National Investigating Agency. Counter-terrorism tabletop exercise. Remember that these agencies, they can ask, if they ask the military exercise and they ask a tough question, they'll ask, for example, that NDRF, that NIA, something like that. So NIA itself, the first counter-terrorism tabletop exercise for the Quad countries. Next is Surya Kiran, very famous, India, Nepal. You can remember the name, a very Hindi name is there, Surya Kiran, right? So you can remember Surya is a boy's name, Kiran is a girl's name, and with Nepal we have Roti Beti Ka Rishta. Some of these stories you have to make up to remember all these facts, right? So it's in India, Nepal joint military exercise. Next is exercise Mitra Shakti. Mitra Shakti. Mitra Shakti is with India and Sri Lanka. Okay, so you can remember Mitra it's a Mitra. Mitra means your neighborhood, and Shakti S so Sri Lanka. So something you have to make. Shakti, you remember Shakti is with the France, but Mitra Shakti is with the Mitra Shakti with Sri Lanka. So Mitra means neighbor, neighbor first, neighbor Mitra, something like that you can remember. And from S, from Sri Lanka, S to Shakti S. So conducted in Pune, conducted annually between the armies. Next is Him Vijay military exercise. So Him Vijay is Indian Army's biggest mountain combat exercise. Okay, first ever military drill that was held in the northeastern state in the Arunachal Pradesh. Exercise will include troop mobilization, mountain assault, and air assault. Okay, so Him Vijay, from the name itself, Him means snow and Vijay means victory. So at the mountain combat exercise. So Him Vijay exercise, you can see PIB news from 29th November. So Indian Army conducts a routine exercise every year. Him Vijay was one of the endeavors, and it has been conducted at the in the Arunachal Pradesh. Next, very important, Tiger Trump exercise. So you can remember Trump, from Trump to Mr. Trump. So it is a US exercise. So made in India US joint tri-service HADR exercise, humanitarian assistance and the disaster relief exercise, HADR. Okay, not Navy, not Army. Remember that. Tri-service is there, but not with respect to this counter-terrorism or something, but HADR. So Tiger Trump exercise US Marines to show the skills for the first time in India. Okay. Indian Air Force, a cut from above. So basically, it's a game, multiplayer 3D game that has been developed from Indian Air Force. So it's a mobile game, gaming application. So they will have some simulations and some entertainment kind of thing, right? From Indian Air Force. Next is MK-45 naval guns. So naval guns from US. So US approves 1 billion sale of $1 billion sale of M45 naval guns to India. So, okay. So previously sold to its allies like Korea, Japan, other Pacific US allies. Now it is being sold to India as well. It has range of more than 20 nautical miles of 36 kilometers. 36 kilometers the range, you can imagine. MK-45 is a naval artillery gun designed for the use of surface warships, anti-aircraft and shore bombardment to support the amphibious operations. So you can see mounted on the naval ships, and this will be MK-45. Next is AMCA project by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, to make the advanced medium combat aircraft to make India's next indigenous aircraft. First flight expected 2032. So just remember that it is the AMCA name is given. Okay. Next is bilateral naval exercise between the navies of India and Indonesia. So that is Samudra, name is Samudra Shakti. Okay, Samudra Shakti. So Indian and Navy bilateral maritime exercise in the Bay of Bengal. Okay. So you need to make a list also, and make a list like that: Army, Navy, Air Force, and all, and then remember the name from the name and the country's name. So second edition is there. Maneuver, surface water exercise, air defense exercise, weapon firing drills, helicopter operation, boarding operations. Next is very peripheral information, but just the sake of covering: war casualty housing limit. So basically, families of the armed forces personnel killed in the action now retain the government accommodation for 1 year. Earlier it was 3 months. So when someone dies in the operation, so Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh has approved the proposal to extend the period of retention from 3 months to the 1 year. Okay. So that is the end of your this session. Art, science and tech we have seen. Art and culture and defense, right? Some people, some students have given me feedback that the speed is relatively fast, because you see, these are very prelim facts. For the mains, I have to explain and I have to do something. These are core, simple, hardcore facts. So you need to remember that. Okay. If it is getting slow, you can repeat the videos, because many of the students have told me, sir, the time is very less for the prelims. So that is why we have to respect the times of the aspirant as well, isn't it? So if you're finding it relatively fast, you can slow it down. You can pause the video, you can rewatch the video, you can go back and rewatch the things you cannot understand. Yes, and the PDF will be available soon and on the links, right? Okay, so this is end of your November month series. Now we have completed our October, we have completed our November series. Okay, so all the 5 sessions I have taken available on the YouTube also, and now next month we will start our June series. As I've discussed in the starting of the first class itself, that is our plan. From October, November, now June, July, August, September, October, November we have done. So that will be a 6-month exercise. After that, we'll take a relook. Whatever topics remain, we'll take one remedial class, we'll complete all the topics, and then we'll move forward with December, January, February, March. Okay? Thank you. See you in the next class.